Trixie's Forest Retreat. By Crow's Crow. Chapter 51. Requisite. In the morning, Trixie made her way out Fluttershy's room, and down the concrete stairs. During her descent she scanned the room. She found Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash sitting together on the couch already. They each took opposite ends. Trixie trotted up to them. They waved and smiled to her while she took the seat in the middle, smiling at each in turn, but then turned her attention to Fluttershy. There was just this ever-present aura of calm around the timid mare, yet she knew it was fragile, truly something to be caressed and allowed to flourish. Trixie stared into Fluttershy's magnificent, mesmerizing eyes for a long moment, then let her gaze slide down the gentle features of her face, settling upon the lips that formed her warming smile. Without hesitation Trixie found herself with her hooves around Fluttershy's neck, kissing her tenderly. She felt Fluttershy utter a muffled eep in surprise, but then returned the affection. Her lips were as soft as she was precious. A shocked cry from Rainbow Dash right behind her made Trixie break away from Fluttershy, turning around towards the outraged mare. Even below the fur Trixie could see her lean muscles tense and strain. Her wings flared out wide behind her, making her look even more imposing and strong. Trixie lifted her eyes up to Rainbow Dash's face. The look of shock was turning quickly into anger. Rainbow Dash no doubt thought her war face was terrifying, but in a way she was cute when she was mad. It was something Trixie first noticed during their arguments, though she would have never admitted to it. "You know what this means, right?" Rainbow Dash growled. Trixie could already see Rainbow Dash pull her hoof back behind her, but smiled as she nodded in agreement. She felt no fear even as it collided with her face. Hot stars dotted her vision as she was knocked onto her back. The hurt passed away almost as quickly as it came while Trixie lay there. Above her she could see the sky, laying on her back upon the couch. Trixie smiled at Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy as they looked down on her. "With that out of the way. The worst part was you left me out of something that awesome," Rainbow Dash scolded. Then she leaned in with a mischievous grin, kissing Trixie passionately on the lips. They both held a kiss for what Trixie simultaneously felt was an eternity and far too short. Rainbow Dash set her hooves against Trixie's shoulders and pushed away, rolling down at her. Fluttershy's hooves curled around Rainbow Dash from behind, and soon after Fluttershy peeked in over her shoulder, blushing so cutely. While Trixie watched awestruck, Rainbow Dash turned her head towards Fluttershy, and received a kiss. They both squinted during the kiss, peeking at Trixie from the corner of their eyes. Trixie felt as though her heart would drill its way out of her chest. Fluttershy broke the kiss with a soft gasp, leaving a glistening tendril connecting them, before she licked her lips with a blush. Rainbow Dash turned towards Trixie, and Fluttershy followed her example. "So, think you can handle us both, do you?" Rainbow Dash smirked while she shifted to the side slightly, allowing Fluttershy beside her, both looming over the excited unicorn. "Trixie is great and powerful enough for two," Trixie exclaimed, thrilled. "Trixie." Rainbow Dash said her name so lovingly, and leaned down to kiss her throat. Trixie blushed deeply. She was often told she loved to hear her own name, but she had no idea how true it was until that moment. Fluttershy followed Rainbow Dash's lead, kissing Trixie as well, through on the left side. Trixie squirmed below the pair in delight. Rainbow Dash pushed herself up on Trixie's shoulders again, jostling her a little in the process. "Trixie," she repeated, and they leaned in to kiss her again, higher this time. With each repetition she led the trail of kisses up higher, and her voice got a little louder. The constant pushing and pulling on her sore shoulders was a little painful, but nothing the blissful Trixie even paid attention to, closing her eyes. "Trixie. Trixie. Trixie. Trixie." Trixie winced slightly as that last one was especially hard. She opened her eyes groggily to find Rainbow Dash had made it all the way up to her face this time. Though she could barely see the beautiful mare in the dark, it was enough for Trixie to lean up and claim the next kiss from those tasty lips. It felt a bit different this time. Trixie could see Rainbow Dash's eyes open wide during the kiss. For some reason Rainbow Dash was not kissing back, and Fluttershy was nowhere to be seen. Confused, Trixie broke the kiss. Why did she stop? Why is everything so dark? Trixie thought it was morning. So many things seemed off now. Trixie could have sworn they were on the couch, but she was in bed instead. Rainbow Dash was not even on top of her anymore but at the bedside. A terrible feeling settled over Trixie, making her even more anxious, before it finally hit her. Trixie's eyes widened and she frantically looked down at the bed, then up at Rainbow Dash, who seemed to have recovered from the shock. Trixie just wanted to kick herself, disappear, or vacuum. She quickly scuttled away from Rainbow Dash, wincing as she discovered her sore muscles protested heavily. "Duh, don't be mad," Trixie stammered while she crawled further backwards, only to see Rainbow Dash make a lunge for her. "Trixie, no." With a scared yelp, Trixie pushed herself back faster, and discovered she had run out of mattress to retreat to, toppling backwards off the bed. Closing her eyes tightly, Trixie braced for the impact with the wooden floor. She knew she had to avoid hitting her head somehow, but all she could do was bend her neck forward, taking the brunt on it. Which was not good either, and would still send most of the shock up to her head. Time seemed to slow down, but it did her no good beyond dragging out her end. "Really? I'm going to die by falling out of bed? R.I.P. The great and powerful Trixie, she fell out of bed one morning. This is the worst." Trixie felt something snap shut around her like a vice, that someone had left out in the desert sun, and flipped her mid-fall. The impact against the ground followed just a split second later, but it was nowhere near as rough as Trixie had thought. Instead of crack, she heard thud and a grunt. "Ugh, that hurt," Rainbow Dash complained from below Trixie. "What part of no did you not understand?" Trixie's heart was beating in her throat, fairly certain she had seen her life flash by for the 12th time that week. Blinking slowly, Trixie found herself sprawled out on top of Rainbow Dash, the mare's forelegs clamped tightly around her, just like on the cloud. The main difference was that instead of a soft cloud, they were on the hard floor. If it is any consolation, Trixie has mistaken Fluttershy's rescue attempt as an attack before too. "It's not just you," Trixie said sheepishly. A bemused chuckle sounded below Trixie. Rainbow Dash released her grip on Trixie. You know, that actually does make me feel a little better about this. Seriously though, you thought Fluttershy was attacking you at some point? Oh, and can you get off?" "No." "What do you mean, no? It wasn't really a request." Trixie is too sore. Though it was true, Trixie did not even make a single attempt. Glad for an excuse to stay the way they were for the moment. Rainbow Dash blinked, but allowed Trixie to rest on her for the moment. "Oh, I get it. I guess you would be. And probably weak from hunger too?" It had not occurred to Trixie yet. The dull aching pain in her limbs distracted her, but she was starving. She had no idea how that could be possible, considering she had plenty of Fluttershy soup before bed, and she was not even that hungry back then. There was something she was much more concerned about, however. "Never mind that. What the hell are you doing back here? You only left a few hours ago. And why were you watching Trixie sleep?" Trixie is pretty sure there are laws against that. Trixie was not entirely sure if that was true, nor if she actually minded having Rainbow Dash show up in her bedroom at night. The last thought was quickly pushed to the back of her mind. "I answer Trixie." "Hey, don't make it sound like I'm a creepy pony, Trixie. I did not come back a few hours later, I came back the next morning. You've been asleep for over a day. Fluttershy said to let you rest, 'cause you probably needed it." Rainbow Dash motioned a hoof toward the door. "She's sleeping by the way, so no more yelling, okay?" Trixie tilted her head puzzled. Rainbow Dash had no reason to lie to her, and it matched up with her hunger. Still, it was odd to think she had slept that long, Usually she would wake up for short periods at least. Oh. Maybe Trixie really did push herself too hard. You still did not explain why you were up in Trixie's face like that. You think? Heck, I am pretty sure you would have slept for another day if I didn't wake you up. Rainbow Dash sighed. Anyway, we decided to take shifts, so that one of us would be up when you woke. I have the night shift since it was much easier for me to get some sleep during the day. You could say I am well practiced at it. She grinned proudly. Oh, Trixie is well aware you are lazy. Trixie grinned back at Rainbow Dash. So then your job is to keep Trixie company for the night? Huh? Well, I guess. I'm supposed to make sure you don't freak out and get you something to eat. She motioned to the bed. The freak-out prevention thing was part of that, by the way. You were having a nightmare. I saw you really squirming in your sleep, burning up and mumbling. You look pretty distressed, so I figured I'd wake you from it. But you sure are a sound sleeper. So how about we get you something to eat? Trixie knew Rainbow Dash had meant well, and that she would have no idea why, but she still stared daggers at her all the same. It was a good thing the room was dark, or Rainbow Dash would have been able to see Trixie's burning face. Best dream ever, ruined. I'll get you for this so bad. What? Rainbow Dash stared up at Trixie in complete confusion. You must have been pretty grateful for it, if you kissed me as soon as you woke up. Though I thought you'd have learned your lesson last time, Trixie. That is not why. Trixie blurted out before she could stop herself. Trixie was dreaming and did not realize you were ill that time. Chapter 52. Room Service. Today had been a surprisingly interesting day for Rainbow Dash. As soon as she'd left Fluttershy's place with Applejack, the two of them had a conversation about what Trixie had been up to the day. The most surprising to hear was how Trixie had reacted when she got to the house, and neither of them were home. Rainbow Dash later spoke to Fluttershy about it, leading to the decision to make certain one of them would be around when Trixie woke up. Another meeting with Rarity got her to agree to fix the torn-up cloak, but also a great deal of questions about Trixie. Though Rainbow Dash had not actually told the truth the last time either, she was fairly sure Rarity was onto her, but for some reason Rarity just flashed this disturbing, knowing smile as if she had thought she figured out something especially juicy. With Trixie out of commission, Rainbow Dash had watched the house while Fluttershy brought the animals back from the library. After which she got to spend what felt like a rare type of day, since Trixie demanded as much attention, a day alone with Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash had been sorely aware of how much she missed them. Though during the day she had caught herself on occasion looking towards the wooden staircase, or nearby empty chair, expecting, or maybe wanting, Trixie to be there. It was also rare to have a good excuse to actually sleep during the day, and she happily abused it. Though it had meant cutting her day with Fluttershy short early. The same thing would have happened if Fluttershy was the one to take the night shift anyway. Once night fell, Rainbow Dash bid Fluttershy good night, leaving the cute mare to snooze on the couch, and made her way up to the bedroom. Pulling up a chair, she tried to get herself comfortable at Fluttershy's writing desk. Why does she have that anyway? Did she expect to do a lot of writing? Sitting still in a stuffy room was not one of Rainbow Dash's strong points. There was no reason to think Trixie would actually wake up, so most likely she had just bought herself a very boring night. It had never occurred to her that she was going to be doing nothing. In a sense it was similar to waiting for Trixie to wake up from her coma, but back then she had so many fears and worries plague her mind. This was much more peaceful. Failing to get comfy in the chair, Rainbow Dash opened the window, then she flew out to retrieve a cloud instead. She set the cloud right outside the window, and climbed on, laying down with a satisfied sigh. That's more like it. I'll replace the curtains in the morning. Rainbow Dash could see Trixie through the window, the moonlight providing enough illumination to make her out. She seemed to have dreamless sleep all day, judging by how little she actually moved. I guess that's 'cause she was so exhausted. It's probably for the best. All she ever seems to get are nightmares. It's not fair on her. Heck, some of those probably have me torturing her, and she'd be right. Her stomach twisted at the thought, and looked away. I wish I could do something real for her. Yesterday was good like that. She seemed to really like it when she was hugged. It was kind of embarrassing, but if it makes her feel better, I think I'd do anything. Sighing, Rainbow Dash let her gaze return to Trixie. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed strange. Trixie had not tried to get physical with either of them before, one misunderstood kiss notwithstanding, but yesterday she seemed so eager to be near them, and then there was what AJ had told her. Was she always that unstable? Or did she get scared by those three, when she couldn't defend herself? It's my fault, isn't it? She couldn't, because her magic didn't work anymore. She swallowed, suddenly recalling the time when Trixie had asked her not to fly. If she was grounded, she'd probably not deal with it well either, losing her Pegasus features. Just the very thought made her sick. But it's different for me. Flying is my special talent. Her special talent is magic. Oh, right. Rainbow Dash decided she was terrible at making herself feel better about any of this. Movement inside drew her attention. She could see Trixie was struggling under the blanket. Another nightmare? Rainbow Dash scowled. Leave her alone already. Within a second she had flown back into the room and stood at Trixie's bedside. She felt like she had to do something. Her first attempts were unsuccessful. Getting herself onto the bed did not stop Trixie's squirming. And neither did touching her. If anything, it seemed to make it worse. Whoa, she's hot. Rainbow withdrew her hoof from Trixie's head. There was only one thing left to do that she could think of. Okay, gentler now. If I just wake her up a little, she can go right back to sleep. She set her hooves on Trixie's shoulders, and carefully shook her. Trixie. It was not good enough, so she tried again. Trixie. And again. Trixie. Her every attempt seemed to be making things worse. She could hear Trixie mumbling in her sleep now while she squirmed. Trixie. Rainbow Dash tried a bit louder, starting to get desperate. She briefly looked towards the door. She couldn't really yell without risking she'd wake up Fluttershy. With Trixie still in an unrestful sleep, Rainbow Dash leaned in closer, reasoning she would sound louder without actually needing to yell. She shook Trixie's shoulder again while she called out. Trixie. Trixie stirred, her eyes opened halfway while she stared back at Rainbow Dash. Yes. Mission successful. Okay, now just stay quiet and she'll fall free. Her brain shut down as she felt a familiar sensation against her lips. Trixie was kissing her. Rainbow Dash widened her eyes in shock. Oh my gosh. Jay, just hold still. She'll fall back asleep any second now, and think she was dreaming. Bear with it. Rainbow Dash did her best to stand completely still while Trixie's lips pressed against her own. She felt so warm. How long are you planning to hold this kiss for? Just fall back asleep, come on. However, Trixie seemed to grow more alert, and alarmed, by the second. She looked from Rainbow Dash to the bed and back, then rapidly pushed herself away from her. Duh, don't be mad. Trixie practically begged. Rainbow Dash's chest ached at the tone in the scared mare's voice. She felt miserable while she watched Trixie crawl backwards away from her, but then noticed she was getting awfully close towards the edge of the bed. It did not take a genius to figure out what would happen if she did not stop her right away. Trixie, no. Rainbow Dash called out and made a lunge forward to grab her and prevent the fall, but she was too late. Trixie made the final push and toppled over. No. She spread her wings and with a single beat brought herself within range of the falling Trixie. She pulled Trixie tightly against her, and folded one wing against her back, letting the drag on the spread wings spin them, putting herself on the bottom first right before collision. Rainbow Dash could see stars, and her head hurt like heck. She gasped for breath as Trixie had knocked the wind out of her when she broke her fall with her chest. Still, she had crashed worse before. Ugh, that hurt. What part of no did you not understand? Even as grouchy as the pain made her, she could not help but smile anyway. I did it. She's okay. I saved her. From something that only happened because of me. Good job, Rainbow. Her smile faltered. Understandably, Trixie had some questions about why she was there and how long she'd been out. All of which Rainbow Dash had to provide some answers to, while trying her hardest not to think about the kiss. She tried to offer her food, but Trixie just stared at her as if she was expecting something. Is it about the kiss? What if she thinks I'm mad about it? I should say something, anything. Make a joke, yeah. What? Rainbow Dash stared up at Trixie in complete confusion. You must have been pretty grateful for it, if you kissed me as soon as you woke up. Though I thought you'd have learned your lesson last time, Trixie. That is not why. Trixie blurted out before she could stop herself. Trixie was dreaming and did not realize you were real that time. Rainbow Dash looked up at Trixie unsure of what to think. At first she had been ready to call Trixie out on making such a lame excuse, but she decided against it after seeing Trixie clamp her hooves over her mouth with such a miserable look on her face. She dreams about me? Like that? It was a far cry from how Rainbow Dash had thought she features in Trixie's nightmares. She tried not to think about it, but she had to admit she felt much better in the knowledge that she was not purely nightmare fuel. Though knowing she featured prominently in romantic dreams was not something she was comfortable with either. The last time Trixie had somewhat accidentally confessed something so personal, Rainbow Dash had been kind of a colossal jerk about it. Though she certainly felt she had good reason to at the time, in hindsight she really wished she hadn't blown up at her for making a mistake. Well, that was something. Rainbow Dash tried to sound casual. So shut up. Trixie can't help what she dreams about. Trixie snapped at her. Rainbow Dash shook her head. No, you can't. I understand. Though Trixie only thought she were dreaming the time, and if she actually has dreams like that. Maybe she wasn't confused after all. They both stayed quiet for a while after that. As mad as Trixie had sounded about it, she still made no attempt or request to get off Rainbow Dash. I know she's awake, she's looking at me. Maybe she is waiting for me to say something. The silence was broken by Trixie. Rainbow Dash? Blinking, Rainbow Dash looked up at her. Yes, Trixie. Poor Trixie. I gotta keep calm. It's not her fault. It's kind of sad she still feels that way after everything though. Take Trixie outside. She motioned towards the window. Rainbow Dash blinked, then looked at the window, then back to Trixie. I don't get it, but it's not like she can go anywhere on her own. Sure, hold on. Though she said that, there was really not much need. She grabbed Trixie tightly, and after a rocky start flew out the window, dropping Trixie off in the grass near the creek by the house. Anything else? Yes, Trixie is hungry. Bring her something to eat. She sounded stiff, none of her usual flair in her voice, but it also was not shaky. Raising a brow at the rude request, Rainbow Dash opted to indulge her. Okay. You stay right here. I'll get you something. She spread her wings and prepared for lift-off. Like Trixie has anywhere else to go. Trixie sighed, then turned her head up, staring into the night sky while Rainbow Dash flew towards the house. Chapter 53. Rising. Trixie rested on her haunches while she stared up at the stars. She gave a sigh and closed her eyes, enjoying the cool night air. It helped her think, or at least it helped her calm down enough to think. At any moment, Rainbow Dash could return and she needed to have a plan before that happened. The incident and spontaneous follow-up had left Trixie embarrassed, confused, and angry with herself. The best she could think of to get out of the hole she was in, without digging any deeper, was to be as distant as she could manage. At least until she had her head sorted out. She had not even had time to reflect on her dream yet. For whatever reason, Rainbow Dash had not been anywhere near as upset with her as she was the first time. On the other hoof, the majority of the problem had been that it was the first time. She had even allowed Trixie to hold the kiss for a very long time. Trixie could not help but wonder if perhaps she had been too hasty in retreating once she realized it was the real Rainbow Dash. Maybe I should have gone for it. Trixie started to get more frustrated the more she realized how perfect a situation it had been, the two of them alone at night, in the privacy of the bedroom, sharing an accidental kiss for much longer than accidental kisses had any right to exist. Now she was wishing she had just grabbed Rainbow Dash instead of tried to escape and ruin the whole mood. But, it's still kind of okay, isn't it? I mean, she kind of knows now, right? And she didn't yell at me at all, so she's okay with it now. Trixie could feel a smile creep up on her as she indulged in the thought. A tingling spread across her fur where Rainbow Dash had held her to bring her outside. Now that Trixie thinks about it. She didn't push Trixie away yesterday either, and she even told Fluttershy to hug Trixie. That had easily been the best part of the evening, getting so close to both of them for a while. Trixie wrapped her forelegs around herself in a giddy self-hug while she recalled the wonderful dream that followed the evening. Opening her eyes, Trixie looked towards the moon, a scarlet blush spreading across her cheeks. It was said that Princess Luna's former duty was to visit Pony's dreams, and that she sometimes would show Pony's visions of the future. Maybe that was one? Princess Luna is back after all. Trixie smiled widely while she stared up at the moon. Is it because Trixie slept all day? Trixie knew you would appreciate the irony. Thank you. You're welcome, Trixie, Rainbow Dash said from behind her. Freezing up, Trixie quickly added the last of her little prayer silently. You will be in Trixie's praises from now on. Thank you, Luna. With it out of the way, Trixie turned around to find Rainbow Dash. She carried a tray on her back. Oh, there you are. Good. Trixie was getting worried you'd gotten lost. Rainbow Dash tilted her head with a surprised look, but then grinned. Hey, maybe I'll just get lost these last few steps and take an hour to get there. Piffed, as if Trixie would really be missing much. She is not even hungry enough to eat whatever you might cook up. Naturally, it was in that exact moment that Trixie's stomach growled. Maybe Trixie will humor you, and try some. With a laugh, Rainbow Dash set down the tray, and sat down beside Trixie. That sure is nice of you. I'm glad you are feeling good enough to insult me again, I guess. The meal was nothing special, just some oatmeal, hay and 2 bruised apples. Trixie munched her oats while she eyed the apples suspiciously, then looked back to Rainbow Dash. What? You are aware these are not meant for pony consumption, right? What? Does Trixie look like an animal to you? Huh? Fluttershy asked me the same thing about you before. So, yeah. You are, I guess? Trixie blinked, unsure if she'd heard that right. Fluttershy asked you if Trixie was an animal? And you said yes? She raised a hoof to her temple and rubbed it slowly while she took another bite. Just never mind. Instead of giving Trixie migraines, give her something to drink. Rainbow Dash pointed towards the stream a few meters away from them. Right there. I'm sure you can manage that one. Trixie raised her nose up in the air, giving Rainbow Dash a glance from a single half-lidded eye. Of course the great and powerful Trixie can get her own water, but that's not the point, is it? You're here as Fluttershy's proxy caretaker. Do you think she would refuse to get Trixie some water? What? I guess not. Rainbow Dash sighed. Fine then. That's more like it, Trixie said, after swallowing the last of her oats, and pointed to the bowl. Rainbow Dash rose up to her hoofs and picked up the bowl, then headed towards the water, but paused. Oh, I get it. You are going to abuse the hay out of this, aren't you? Maliciously. Trixie answered in glee. Great. At least you can't demand much in the middle of the night. Rainbow Dash scooped up some water and brought it back, setting it down beside Trixie, but she sat across from her this time. Trixie grinned. Is that a challenge? She leaned down to drink her water while she pondered the situation. She had Rainbow Dash at her mercy for the time being, or at least she was playing along. Oh, this is going to be good. Trixie? I don't think I like that look on your face. Rainbow Dash sounded a bit worried. The gracious and merciful Trixie assures you that she won't make you do anything she won't like. Well, all right. Wait, what? Nothing. Now let's go. Trixie scrambled to her hooves. Go? Go where? To the forest, of course. Fly Trixie over there. Trixie has decided that her next wagon will be made out of timber wolf wood, specifically the timber wolf, and before dawn. She jabbed a hoof towards the forest. You know. That's not happening. What? But you said you would do what Trixie wanted. Ugh, fine. How about we just get its head? Still no. You fly Trixie over there, and we taunt it from a tree. No. Just a flight over the forest? Too dangerous. Possible? Rainbow Dash lifted a hoof to her chin, scratching it idly as she considered it, then finally nodded. Yeah, okay, I guess that's not too dangerous. Fine. But you better appreciate the lengths Trixie was willing to lower her standards to accommodate you. Trixie did her utmost best to look disappointed, trying to contain her excitement. She fell for it. Ha, as if she'd have ever agreed to that if Trixie let it with. Trixie looked down at the hay she still had left, then placed the bowl over it to keep the wind from taking off with it. She was not about to finish her breakfast and risk Rainbow Dash coming to her senses in the meantime. Sitting down on her haunches, Trixie reached her front legs out to Rainbow Dash with a huff. Let's get this over with then. Rainbow Dash shook her head. No, not like that. You'd not be able to see anything. Turn your back to me, then spread your forelegs so I can get a good grip. I'll go get a head start. With that she flared her wings, then took off into the night sky, circling around in large ovals. Following the instructions, Trixie spread her forelegs and gulped. Only now did it occur to her that she was going to be flying high above the ground. It had been a prospect that had not seemed so bad when she expected Rainbow Dash to be all she could see, but this way she was going to be looking straight down the entire time. She could feel her heart beating in her throat. Here's hoping I'm not scared of heights. Maybe if I just lay down I can still get out of this. Yeah, that's it, I'll just Rainbow Dash swooped in with enough momentum to snatch Trixie off the ground and propel the both of them into the air. Her hooves slid under Trixie's forelegs and connected over her chest, holding on tightly. Trixie felt the ground vanish below her hooves. All she felt anymore was the cold wind, and the vice-like grip around her that pressed her back into Rainbow's chest, radiating enough heat to ensure Trixie's shaking could at least not be from the cold. Pretty awesome sight, right, Trixie? Yeah, you said it. Great sights. And you know what would make it even better? A nice comparative perspective from the ground? No. Opening your eyes. With a just quick peek, Trixie already felt her head spin as she saw the tiny sea of lights below her. At first glance it was almost as if she was looking at the stars, but the patterns were all wrong and shaped like streets instead of constellations. She quickly closed her eyes again. No, Trixie is pretty sure this is better. Oh, come on. Rainbow Dash sounded awfully pleased. You asked for this, you better enjoy it. That was the deal, right? You'd only ask for things you would like. So start liking it. Relax, I've never dropped any pony, ever. That is a lie and Trixie knows it. You dropped Trixie before. Still, she carefully opened one eye again. Strangely, it seemed to her like the lights had gotten smaller. Trixie dismissed it as her imagination. After all, she had only gotten a minute glance the first time. It felt weird to see the world from on high. Trixie was not used to anything higher than her own stage. Everything was so small. She estimated that, if she fell down now, it would take at least an hour to hit the ground, give or take 60 minutes. Trixie trembled with fright as she stared down into the sparkly abyss, her breathing quickened. Terrible idea. She could tell the lights still kept getting smaller too. A shocking realization set in for Trixie. Rainbow Dash was still flying up higher. Trixie wants to go down, she squeaked, failing utterly to keep her voice steady. Chapter 54. Radiant. Trixie would never have guessed that Ponyville could actually scare her more from a distance than it ever did up close. But now that she was flying so high above it, she wished for nothing more than to be down in its streets on her own hooves. Rainbow Dash ignored her pleas to be set down, and there was nothing Trixie could do about it. Set Trixie down right now. Are you having fun? Rainbow Dash had leveled out her flight path so Trixie saw the ground slowly shift. At first they'd been above Fluttershy's house, but by now they were above the town hall. Trixie could barely make out the town square she had used for her performance. This is not funny. Let Trixie go. Huh? This was fun and all, but you are pretty heavy, you know. I'm not sure I can hold you long enough to fly back down. Trixie's eyes widened. No. Don't let Trixie go. Relax, we don't have to actually fly, you know. We'll just free fall for a while, then I'll start flying again. Oh, before that though, ever wondered what it's like to do a loop? It's awesome. Trixie could feel Rainbow Dash fly up again, but the angle kept changing as they arched further backwards, starting up the loop. Trixie could not even see the ground anymore. First she was forced to look at the horizon and then to the sky, not that she had spared a single thought to either of those sights. No, stop it. Rainbow, please. I'm scared. She lifted up her hooves to cover her eyes. With the both of them upside down on the highest point of the loop, next came falling back down. Trixie saw Rainbow Dash's wings strike up beside her, sending the both of them down while she cried out. But instead of the terrifying plummet, they quickly came to a complete stop, and she just heard a soft pom-piff sound. Shaking, Trixie lifted one hoof from her eye and glanced around. She could see something white all around them. A cloud? She looked towards Rainbow Dash, who was grinning back at her, a far too smug look on her face. Scared, huh? Relax, we can rest here for a bit then fly back to Oopiev. Trixie elbowed Rainbow Dash in the ribs as hard as she dared. You jerk. Don't play with Trixie like that. She struggled against the previously iron grip, which had loosened a bit after the jab to the ribs. Rainbow Dash felt the trembling Trixie attempt to roll over and quickly tightened her grip again. Whoa. Hey, stop moving so much. Trixie's not supposed to stress. Trixie whimpered. Her struggles simmered down to whimpers, tears coming to her eyes. Drooping her ears, Rainbow Dash's face fell. I'm sorry, okay? But you were trying to trick me, what did you expect? Trixie averted her gaze, quickly bringing up a hoof to clear her eyes as best she could. She just barely managed to look at Rainbow Dash from the corner of her eye. Trixie didn't even want to fly, she just wanted to hold you, and maybe earn a real kiss. The tears came back, and Trixie looked away again. Trixie should have known. Rainbow Dash looked down at Trixie, then gradually loosened her grip on the upset mare's chest. Letting one hoof shift up to Trixie's head, she urged Trixie to look at her. Without being given a chance to clean up, Trixie looked like a mess. Hey. Rainbow Dash spoke softly, then gently kissed her forehead. She showed a smile when she saw the surprised, confused look on Trixie's face. I guess this would be much safer if we both held on, right? She briefly glanced down, then met Trixie's gaze again. Trixie was not quite sure what the kiss had meant, but she knew a hint when she heard one and quickly nodded. Right. Without Rainbow Dash holding her down, it was no trouble to twist and roll onto her chest. She gave a slight shiver as her previously warmed back was introduced to the cold air, But Trixie got over it quickly when she felt the warmth spreading through her chest. Trixie was not sure all of it was Rainbow Dash's body heat either. Wrapping her forelegs around Rainbow Dash, Trixie rested her muzzle against the mare's neck happily. After holding still for a moment, she gave Rainbow Dash an experimental nuzzle, and was answered with a hoof stroking through her mane. "Trixie, you like the night, right?" Rainbow Dash asked while she used the primary feathers on her right wing to wipe Trixie's cheeks and eyes clear. Among other things. Was Trixie that obvious? Why? Trixie held her eyes closed while the soft, cool feathers brushed over her. The feeling was almost magical. It did not take long for Trixie to find herself smiling again while the feathers stroked her. She was sure they had already finished their job, and those last strokes were purely for her benefit. "Well, I won't pretend that this was my plan all along, but..." Rainbow Dash withdrew her wings, eliciting a small whine from Trixie. "You know how they say that you should not look down if you are scared of heights? How about you try looking up right now?" "Who says Trixie is scared of heights? She will personally make them regret it." Trixie grumbled a little, though she knew there was no real point in attempting to save face at this point. She still tried. Opening her eyes, Trixie looked up at the sky, then uttered a gasp. How long has it been there?" Rainbow Dash smirked lightly, but let none of it sound through in her voice. "How long has what been there?" "The sky." Trixie swept her eyes across the vast openness above them. Not a single cloud was higher than they were, allowing for an unfettered, perfect view of the moon, the stars, and even a gentle glow far away on the east horizon. "It's beautiful." Trixie had never been so high up in her life. Only a few moments ago she would have thought being this high up one could touch the moon and rearrange the stars, but they did not seem any closer than way down on the ground. The only difference was that they were brighter, clearer. Somehow there were more stars up here, ones Trixie had not seen before, that were slightly fainter than the others. "It's been there all night, you know." Rainbow dashed up and her wings folded around Trixie, shielding her from the cold high-altitude air. Smiling, Trixie felt warmer already when she noticed the feathery appendages make their return. The soft feeling over her coat more than made up from the airheaded comment. "Are you trying to ruin this? It's not working." Rainbow Dash stayed quiet, letting Trixie appreciate the view from their cloud. As beautiful as the night sky was, it did not take long for Trixie to recognize there was something even more beautiful she could be appreciating in the pale light of the moon. She turned her gaze back to Rainbow Dash. She really was the best thing to look at, if only she was quiet more often. It was a shame she was going to have to ruin their moment, but maybe it could wait just a little longer. Noticing Trixie staring at her, Rainbow Dash looked down, locking eyes with the mare. "What?" Trixie just shook her head, and laid back down, nuzzling her muzzle along Rainbow's neck. "Nothing." "It's not nothing, come on, tell me," Rainbow Dash urged. Sighing, Trixie relented and spoke softly. Trixie was just thinking, it's a shame Fluttershy isn't here too. She peeked at Rainbow Dash, catching the surprised look on her face. Clearly she had not been expecting that answer. Rainbow Dash's face was showing a bit of red even in the pale light. What? Fluttershy?" Trixie nodded. "Wouldn't you want her here?" "Trixie thought you two were really close. She talks about you a lot, you know." She could feel Rainbow Dash tense up below her and smiled, doing her best to sound casual. "About how much she looks up to you, and Trixie thinks she makes some good points too." Rainbow Dash swallowed, and lifted her muzzle back up to the moon, avoiding eye contact. "What else did she say?" Trixie forced a chuckle as she spoke. "Well, that she wants to make you proud, but that she was really hurt when you scolded her on the mountain. She's scared she will disappoint you again if she tells you though." "Wait, what?" Rainbow Dash's eyes were back on Trixie in a split second. "Trixie understands, you were in a hurry. Fluttershy was slowing every pony down, she was completely useless. It is only natural, she is such a scar-ready pony. From what Trixie heard, it was like she was sabotaging you the whole way. She should have just stayed home. Trixie laughed and shook her head while she poked at Rainbow Dash's wings. What kind of Pegasus fails to fly? Just that cost you like an hour, taking her up a new path. It's not really her fault she's scared of dragons. Rainbow Dash growled. If we'd all taken that path in the first place, I'm sure she would have done fine. Wasn't it all her fault you were gone all day? She should have said up front that she was extra scared of dragons. But no, she wasted Everpony's time, and only told you at the last second. It would have been one thing if she was scared, but she didn't improve at all and was scared of absolutely everything. Here she is, a Pegasus that was too scared of heights to step over a minor crevice. Trixie giggled, while she could feel Rainbow Dash's heartbeat skyrocket in her chest. How dare you talk about Fluttershy like that? She was trying. That's all that matters. It was really brave of Fluttershy to even come along. She would rather try her best to face the mountain than let us down. Sure, she faltered at the end, but at least she tried. Hey, not even that. She came through for us at the very end. She glared at Trixie. Trixie's giggling died out as she looked towards the pair of magnificent, angry eyes, taking just a moment to appreciate them before she forced herself back on target. If she was all of that, why didn't you tell her? You were mean to her the whole trip and only changed your tune when she saved you. Trixie is new at this, but is that how you treat a friend? Rainbow Dash opened her mouth to scold the next insensitive thing to come out of Trixie, but froze. But I just. She went quiet as she looked at Trixie for a long while, though Trixie could tell it was not really her that Rainbow Dash was focused on. I am a terrible friend, Rainbow Dash finally said. Is that how it works? If you make a mistake, you're a terrible friend? Then what does that make, Trixie? She nuzzled Rainbow Dash. You know Fluttershy will give you another chance no matter what, but you should still apologize. Rainbow Dash nodded. You're right. The second she wakes up. She looked towards the moon. Which I guess is in like 6 hours. Ah, come on. Trixie giggled and shook her head. Well, good. Trixie didn't think you were really that callous, just that clueless. She stuck out her tongue. Heh, that reminds me. You tricked me again, didn't you? You know what that means, right? Trixie's ears folded flat. Another crazy flight? Yep. Rainbow Dash grinned at Trixie. However, when Trixie reluctantly tried to roll onto her back again so Rainbow Dash could get a good grip again, she stopped her with a tight hug, pressing their chests closely together. Hey. I think flying this way will be safer, you. Trixie blinked confused a moment, but then perked up immediately. Right.